The year was 2367, and humanity had reached the pinnacle of its technological and scientific advancement. Humanity's grip on the stars had never been stronger, with colonies and outposts scattered across the solar system and beyond. The once elusive dream of interstellar exploration had become a reality, with human vessels venturing deeper into the cosmos than ever before. At the heart of this galactic enterprise was the United Planetary Alliance, UPA, a unified governing body that oversaw the coordination of human activity across the stars. From its gleaming headquarters on the bustling lunar colony of Selene, the UPA's leadership carefully monitored the progress and security of the human domains. One such leader was Director Alexandra Ivanova, a seasoned diplomat and strategist who had risen through the ranks to become the head of the UPA's Department of Interstellar Affairs. Ivanova's sharp mind and unwavering dedication had made her an indispensable figure in the delicate world of interstellar diplomacy, where the slightest misstep could have catastrophic consequences. On this fateful day, Ivanova sat in her office, poring over the latest reports from the remote outposts along the edge of human-controlled space. The data was troubling, to say the least. Anomalies had been detected in the region, unexplained energy readings, and the sudden disappearance of several deep space exploratory vessels. Impossible, Ivanova muttered, her brow furrowed in deep concentration. She had spent decades working to ensure the safety and security of humanity's interstellar interests, and the thought of an unknown threat looming on the horizon filled her with a sense of unease. With a few swift keystrokes, Ivanova summoned her top advisors to an emergency meeting. As the holographic projectors hummed to life, the faces of her most trusted aides materialized before her, expressions a mix of concern and anticipation. "Colleagues," Ivanova began, her voice stern and commanding. "We have a situation that requires our immediate attention. Our remote outposts have detected anomalies and the disappearance of several vessels along the eastern edge of our territory. I need your best minds on this, immediately." The advisors exchanged troubled glances, their brows furrowed in concentration as they digested the implications of Ivanova's words. One by one, they offered their insights and theories, each more alarming than the last. "Could it be a malfunction in our early warning systems?" proposed Alexei Petrov, the UPA's chief of intelligence, "or perhaps a more sophisticated threat, one we have not encountered before?" Ivanova shook her head slowly, her lips pressed into a thin line. "That is precisely what concerns me, Alexei. We have never encountered anything like this before, and with the sudden disappearance of those vessels, I fear we may be dealing with a far more sinister scenario." The meeting stretched on for hours, with the advisors debating possible courses of action and the appropriate response. Ivanova listened intently, her mind racing as she weighed the options and their potential consequences. Finally, she raised her hand, silencing the room. "Gentlemen, ladies, I believe we must consider the possibility that we are not alone in this vast universe. These anomalies, the disappearances, they may be the work of an intelligent, extraterrestrial civilization." The room fell silent, the gravity of Ivanova's words settling heavily upon the gathered advisors. The notion of first contact with an alien species was both exhilarating and terrifying, a prospect that had long been the subject of speculation and debate within the scientific community. "Director, if your suspicions are correct," Petrov said, his voice laced with trepidation, "then we must proceed with the utmost caution. The implications of such an encounter could be profound." Ivanova nodded, her gaze sweeping across the faces of her advisors. "Precisely. That is why I am convening a special task force to investigate these anomalies and prepare for any eventuality. We must be ready, for the sake of all humanity." As the meeting adjourned, Ivanova remained in her office, her thoughts consumed by the looming specter of the unknown. The fate of humanity, she knew, now rested on the actions they would take in the days and weeks to come. With steely determination, she set about assembling the finest minds and resources the UPA had to offer, resolved to uncover the truth and, if necessary, defend humanity's rightful place among the stars. The UPA's Special Task Force, assembled under the direct orders of Director Alexandra Ivanova, wasted no time in mobilizing its resources to investigate the mysterious anomalies and disappearances along the eastern edge of human-controlled space. Led by the brilliant and experienced Captain Elijah Kincaid, the team of scientists, engineers, and military strategists set to work, analyzing every scrap of data and deploying a network of advanced sensor probes to monitor the region more closely. As the weeks passed, the picture that began to emerge was both fascinating and unsettling. The anomalies, it seemed, were the result of advanced energy signatures, unlike anything humanity had encountered before. And the disappearances of the exploratory vessels, well, they could only be described as abductions, with all traces of the ships and their crews vanishing without a trace. We're dealing with an intelligent, technologically superior civilization. That much is clear, Kincaid reported to Ivanova during one of their frequent briefings. The question is, how do we make contact? And more importantly, what are their intentions? Ivanova listened intently, her brow furrowed in deep concentration. We must proceed with the utmost caution, Elijah. The implications of first contact with an alien species are staggering. We cannot risk provoking a conflict, not when the stakes are so high. Kincaid nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. I agree, Director. That's why I've recommended we send a diplomatic team to establish formal communication with this alien civilization. We need to understand their motives, their culture, and their technological capabilities, all while maintaining a posture of peaceful cooperation. Ivanova considered the proposal, her mind racing with the potential ramifications. Very well, Captain. Assemble your team and make the necessary preparations, but I want constant updates, and the moment there are any signs of hostility, I want you to withdraw immediately. Humanity cannot afford to lose this first encounter. Within days, the UPA's diplomatic team was ready to depart, a carefully selected group of ambassadors, linguists, and cultural specialists aboard a state-of-the-art interstellar vessel. Their mission: to make first contact with the mysterious alien civilization and open a dialogue that could shape the course of human history. As the ship made its way through the void of space, the tension on board was palpable. Everyone knew the stakes, the potential for disaster if the slightest misstep was made. But the team was well trained, and they were determined to succeed, no matter the cost. Finally, after a tense journey, the ship arrived at the coordinates where the anomalies had been detected. Kincaid and his team held their breath, waiting for any sign of a response from the alien civilization. And then it happened. A massive alien vessel materialized in the distance, its sleek, angular design unlike anything humanity had ever seen. The diplomatic team held their ground, broadcasting a message of peace and cooperation, hopeful that their alien counterparts would respond in kind. After what felt like an eternity, a communication signal was detected, and the faces of the alien ambassadors appeared on the ship's view screen. Their features were strange and unfamiliar, but their demeanor was surprisingly calm and composed. The ensuing exchange was a delicate dance, with both sides carefully probing for understanding and common ground. The alien representatives, who identified themselves as the Exilorians, were initially guarded and suspicious, their questions probing the depth of human knowledge and technological capabilities. But slowly, as the conversation progressed, a sense of mutual curiosity and respect began to emerge. The Exilorians, it seemed, were an ancient, highly advanced civilization, and they were intrigued by the rapid progress of humanity. We have been observing your kind for some time, the lead Silurian ambassador, a being named Cerulean, said with a slight tilt of his head. Your resilience and ingenuity are most impressive. We are not accustomed to encountering such a capable species at this stage of your development. Kincaid chose his words carefully, mindful of the delicate nature of the situation. We are honored by your interest, Cerulean. As you can imagine, The prospect of first contact with an alien civilization is both exhilarating and daunting for us. We are eager to learn more about your people and your ways, and to explore the possibility of cooperation and mutual understanding. The Xylorian ambassador considered this for a moment, his large, luminous eyes reflecting the gravity of the moment. Indeed, Captain Kincaid, there is much for us to discuss, and much for both our civilizations to gain from such a partnership. We shall return shortly to continue our dialogue. Until then, we ask that you and your people remain in this location and refrain from any further exploration or expansion in this region. With that, the communication channel closed, and the massive Xylorian vessel disappeared as quickly as it had arrived, leaving the human diplomatic team to ponder the implications of this first historic encounter. The return of the Xylorian vessel, as promised, sent shockwaves through the human diplomatic team and the UPA leadership back on Selene. Director Alexandra Ivanova watched with a mix of anticipation and trepidation as the massive alien ship materialized once more, its presence dominating the view screen. This time, the Xylorian ambassador, Cerillion, wasted little time in delivering his message. Humans of the United Planetary Alliance, he began, his voice resonating with an otherworldly authority. We have observed your kind for some time, and we have determined that you possess a level of technological and cultural sophistication that is admirable. Ivanova and the others listened intently, their hearts racing as they braced themselves for what was to come. However, Cerillion continued, his tone darkening, we have also detected the growing ambition and expansionist tendencies of your species. Your colonies and outposts are encroaching upon territories that we have long claimed as our own. This is unacceptable. Captain Elijah Kincaid, the leader of the diplomatic team, stepped forward, his expression resolute. Cerillion, we mean no offense. Our exploration and colonization efforts are a natural extension of our desire to better understand and harness the resources of this vast cosmos. We seek only to coexist peacefully with your people, not to usurp your territories. The Xylorian ambassador's eyes narrowed, and a wave of unease swept through the human contingent. Your words are hollow, Captain Kincaid. Your kind have a history of conquest and subjugation, of exploiting the resources and lands of others for your own gain. We will not allow you to do the same to us. Ivanova's brow furrowed as she listened to the exchange, her mind racing to find a diplomatic solution to this escalating confrontation. Cerillion, we are willing to negotiate a peaceful settlement that addresses the concerns of both our civilizations. Surely there is room for us to coexist and even collaborate in the exploration and development of our shared galactic neighborhood. The Xylorian ambassador's response was swift and uncompromising. There is no room for negotiation. Director Ivanova, we have made our decision. You and your kind have two options. Submit to our rule and become productive members of the Xylorian Dominion, or face the full might of our military might and be destroyed. The silence that followed Cerillion's ultimatum was deafening, the weight of his words settling heavily upon the human representatives. Ivanova's eyes narrowed as she considered the gravity of the situation, her mind racing to find a way out of this escalating crisis. Cerillion, your demands are unacceptable, she said, her voice level and unwavering. Humanity will never surrender its hard-won freedoms and autonomy to any alien power, no matter the consequences. We have worked too long and too hard to build a prosperous, unified civilization, and we will not simply hand it over to you or anyone else. The Xylorian ambassador's expression remained impassive, but a hint of frustration flickered in his eyes. Then you leave us no choice, Director Ivanova. We will give you one final warning. Withdraw your forces and colonies from the territories we have claimed, or face the full wrath of the Xylorian Dominion. With that, the communication channel closed, and the massive alien vessel once again disappeared from view, leaving the human diplomatic team in stunned silence. Back on Selene, Ivanova convened an emergency meeting of the UPA leadership, her face a mask of grim determination. Gentlemen, ladies, we find ourselves in a grave and unprecedented situation. The Xylorians have issued an ultimatum. Submit to their rule or face the consequences of their military might. The room erupted in a flurry of shocked murmurs and anxious whispers, the gravity of the situation sinking in. Alexei Petrov, the UPA's chief of intelligence, was the first to speak. Director, this is an unacceptable demand. Humanity has worked too hard to build a free and prosperous civilization. We cannot simply roll over and surrender our autonomy to an alien power, no matter the consequences. Ivanova nodded, her expression resolute. I agree, Alexei, which is why I have ordered the immediate mobilization of our military forces. We must prepare for the possibility of an all-out war with the Xylorians. The room fell silent, the weight of Ivanova's words settling upon the gathered leaders. The prospect of a conflict with an advanced alien civilization was a daunting one. But the alternative, the surrender of humanity's hard-won freedoms, was simply unacceptable. Director, we will need to allocate significant resources towards this effort, cautioned one of the UPA's economic advisors. It will be a tremendous strain on our economy and infrastructure. Ivanova's gaze swept across the room, her expression unwavering. I am well aware of the sacrifices that will be required, but the stakes are too high to do otherwise. The future of our civilization hangs in the balance. We must be prepared to defend our rightful place in this galaxy, no matter the cost. As the meeting adjourned, Ivanova knew that the die had been cast. The fate of humanity now rested in the hands of those who would stand and fight. For to surrender was to betray all that they had worked so hard to achieve. With a steely determination, she set about the arduous task of preparing her people for the battle to come. The news of the Xylorian ultimatum spread like wildfire across the UPA's colonies and outposts, igniting a fervent sense of patriotism and determination within the human populace. Director Alexandra Ivanova's call to arms resonated with the people, who had grown accustomed to the prosperity and security of their interstellar civilization. Nowhere was this more evident than on the bustling lunar colony of Selene, the crown jewel of humanity's technological and military might. Here, the UPA's military forces mobilized with unprecedented speed and efficiency, channeling the collective resolve of the human race into a formidable war machine. At the heart of this mobilization effort was General Aisha Khalil, a seasoned strategist and tactician who had risen through the ranks to become the commander of the UPA's Interstellar Defense Command. Khalil, a native of the Mars colony, had witnessed firsthand the transformative power of human ingenuity and determination, and she was more than ready to put those qualities to the test against the Xylorian threat. This is our moment, ladies and gentlemen. Khalil addressed her assembled officers, her voice carrying a weight of conviction that belied her petite frame. For too long, we have enjoyed the fruits of our labor, content in the knowledge that our technological superiority would shield us from any outside threats. But now we face an enemy unlike any we have encountered before, one that seeks to subjugate our very way of life. The officers listened in rapt attention, their expressions a mix of anticipation and trepidation. They knew that the coming conflict would be a true test of their skills and the resilience of the human spirit. But we will not surrender, Khalil continued, her gaze sweeping across the room. We will not bow to the demands of these Xylorians, nor will we cede our rightful place among the stars. We will fight, and we will prevail for the sake of our families, our communities, and our entire civilization. A thunderous cheer erupted from the assembled officers, their resolve hardening like tempered steel. Khalil allowed herself a small smile, knowing that the spirit of her people would be the greatest weapon in the coming battle. As the mobilization efforts kicked into high gear, the UPA's top scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to push the boundaries of human technology. In the gleaming laboratories of the Selene Orbital Research Station, brilliant minds from across the solar system collaborated to develop new weapons, defense systems, and propulsion technologies that would give humanity the edge it needed to confront the Xylorian dominion. Among them was Dr. May Lyon, a brilliant astrophysicist whose groundbreaking work on warp drive technology had captured the attention of the UPA leadership. Driven by a deep sense of purpose and a fierce loyalty to her home planet, Mai poured her heart and soul into her research, determined to create a weapon that would shatter the Xilorians' technological superiority. We can't just match them. Piece for piece, Mai told her team of researchers, her eyes alight with determination. We need to find a way to surpass them, to give us the advantage we need to win this war. With the unwavering support of the UPA and the collective ingenuity of humanity's finest minds, Mai and her team worked around the clock, pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible. And as the days turned into weeks, their efforts began to bear fruit. A revolutionary new warp drive system that could propel human vessels at speeds never before achieved. Back on Selene, General Khalil oversaw the deployment of the UPA's military forces, deploying fleets of advanced interstellar warships and equipping them with the cutting-edge technologies developed by Mai and her team. The once peaceful colonies and outposts now bustled with the frenetic energy of wartime preparations, as soldiers and civilians alike worked side by side to ensure the survival of their civilization. "We are ready," Director Ivanova. Khalil reported to Ivanova during one of their frequent briefings. "Our fleets are armed and our defenses are fortified. We stand ready to face the Xilorian threat, wherever and whenever they may strike." Ivanova nodded, her expression grim but resolute. "Then may the stars be with us, General. For the fate of humanity now rests upon our shoulders." As the final preparations were made, a palpable sense of tension and anticipation filled the air. The people of the UPA knew that the coming conflict would be a true test of their mettle, a battle for the very survival of their civilization. But they also knew that they were ready to defend their freedom, their homes, and their rightful place among the stars. The tension in the UPA's Interstellar Defense Command headquarters on Selene was palpable as the massive view screens flickered to life, displaying the first images of the Xilorian fleet's approach. General Aisha Khalil stood tall, her gaze fixed on the moving dots that represented the enemy vessels, her mind racing with the tactical considerations of the impending engagement. "They're coming in fast, Director," she reported to Alexandra Ivanova, who watched the unfolding events from her office. "Our long-range sensors indicate a fleet of at least 100 Xilorian warships, all headed directly for our outer colonies." Ivanova's brow furrowed, her lips pursed in a tight line. "Then we have no choice but to meet them head-on, General. Humanity's survival hangs in the balance." Khalil nodded, her expression resolute. "Understood, Director. I've already issued the order to our fleets. They're moving into position as we speak." Moments later, the view screens erupted in a dazzling display of light and energy as the human and Xilorian vessels engaged in a furious battle. Pulses of concentrated plasma and beams of searing energy crisscrossed the void of space, the sheer destructive power of the opposing forces shaking the very foundations of the UPA's command center. Khalil's eyes narrowed as she studied the tactical readouts, her mind processing the flow of data with lightning-fast speed. "They're focusing their attacks on our outer colonies, Director," she reported, her voice laced with a hint of concern. "Their firepower is unlike anything we've seen before." Ivanova's jaw tightened, her knuckles white, as she gripped the edge of her desk. "Then we must respond in kind, General. Divert all available resources to our frontline defenses. We cannot afford to lose a single colony to these Xilorian invaders." Khalil's fingers danced across the holographic control panels, her commands relayed to the fleet commanders with precision and urgency. "Reinforcements are en route, Director, but our losses are mounting. We need to find a way to break through their lines and turn the tide of the battle." As the battle raged on, the human fleets fought with a ferocity born of desperation and determination. Their advanced warp drive systems, developed by the brilliant Dr. Mai Lian and her team, allowed them to outmaneuver the Xilorian vessels, striking swiftly and with devastating effect. But the Xilorians were no mere pushovers. Their ships were larger, their weapons more powerful, and their tactics ruthlessly efficient. Time and again, the human fleets found themselves pushed back, their defenses crumbling under the sheer weight of the enemy's firepower. Khalil gritted her teeth, her eyes narrowed in concentration. We need a game-changer, Director. Something that will give us the edge we need to break their lines and push them back. Ivanova's mind raced, her gaze shifting to the banks of monitors that displayed the ongoing battle. And then, an idea took root, fueled by the indomitable spirit of humanity. General, what if we could turn their own technology against them? She said, her voice tinged with a newfound sense of hope. Khalil's brow furrowed, but the look of determination on her face told Ivanova that she was listening. Our scientists have been working on something, a new type of weapon that could disrupt the Xilorians' energy systems. If we can get it into the right position, it could cripple their fleet and turn the tide of the battle. The general's eyes widened with understanding. An electromagnetic pulse, powerful enough to disable their ships. Director, that's brilliant. She turned to her subordinates, barking out a series of rapid-fire commands. Divert all available power to the experimental EMP cannon. Get it online and ready to fire. Now. Moments later, the human fleet surged forward, their ships weaving through the Xilorian formations with renewed vigor. And at the heart of the advancing force, a single vessel, its powerful engines propelling it towards the Xilorians' command ship. As the Xilorian fleet scrambled to respond, the EMP cannon charged, its massive capacitors building to a crescendo. And then, with a deafening roar, the weapon fired, unleashing a devastating pulse of electromagnetic energy that swept across the battlefield. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The Xilorian vessels, their advanced systems relying heavily on intricate energy fields, were crippled, their engines and weapons systems rendered useless. Confusion and panic spread through the alien ranks, giving the human fleets the opening they needed to mount a devastating counterattack. Khalil watched the unfolding battle with a mixture of relief and triumph. They're retreating, Director. The Xilorian fleet is in full retreat. Ivanova allowed herself a rare smile, the weight of the world lifting from her shoulders. Then we have won the day, General. Humanity has proven its worth, and the Xilorian Dominion has learned a hard lesson, that we will not go quietly into the night. As the human fleets regrouped and began the process of securing their colonies, a sense of cautious optimism spread through the UPA's ranks. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. The Xilorians would undoubtedly return, and the people of the UPA would have to be ready to meet them head-on, no matter the cost. But for now, in the wake of this momentous victory, the people of Earth and her colonies could take solace in the knowledge that they had taken a critical step towards securing their rightful place among the stars. The retreat of the Xilorian fleet from the critical battle for the UPA's outer colonies sent shockwaves through the alien leadership. Cerillion, the Xilorian ambassador who had delivered the initial ultimatum to humanity, paced the command deck of his flagship, his brow furrowed in a mix of frustration and bewilderment. Impossible, he muttered, his gaze fixed on the tactical displays that chronicled the decisive defeat of his forces. How could these humans have bested the might of the Xilorian Dominion? His second-in-command, a seasoned military commander named Selov, approached Cerillion with a cautious demeanor. The humans proved to be more resilient and technologically capable than we anticipated, sir. Their use of the electromagnetic pulse weapon was a devastating blow that crippled our fleets. Cerillion's eyes narrowed, his lips pressed into a thin line. Unacceptable. We cannot allow these upstart humans to defy the will of the Dominion. Prepare our forces for a renewed offensive. We will crush their pathetic resistance and bring them to heel, no matter the cost. Zelov hesitated, his own doubts about the wisdom of such a course of action evident in his expression. Sir, may I suggest a more subtle approach? The humans have proven themselves to be formidable adversaries, both in their military prowess and their resourcefulness. Perhaps we should reconsider our strategy, Find a way to undermine their resolve without resorting to outright war. Cerylion's gaze hardened, his patience wearing thin. Your caution is noted, Zaloth, but the Dominion cannot afford to show weakness in the face of such blatant defiance. We will show these humans the true might of the Xylorian Empire, and they will tremble before us. Back on Selene, the UPA's leadership, led by Director Ivanova and General Khalil, huddled in a tense strategy session, their minds racing with the implications of their hard-won victory. We've bought ourselves some time, but the Xylorians will be back, Ivanova said, her expression grave. And next time, they may not be so easily deterred. Khalil nodded, her brow furrowed in thought. Agreed. We need to use this respite to our advantage, to bolster our defenses and prepare for the next round of the conflict. The discussion that followed was a flurry of ideas and proposals, each one more ambitious than the last. The UPA's top scientists and engineers, including the brilliant Dr. Madelian, presented their latest technological breakthroughs. Advanced shield systems, more powerful energy weapons, and even the possibility of developing a fleet of faster-than-light vessels capable of rapid interstellar travel. But as the meeting progressed, a growing sense of unease began to permeate the room. Ivanova could see it in the tightening of her advisor's expressions, the subtle shifts in their body language. "Something is troubling you," she said, her gaze sweeping across the gathered leaders. "What are you not telling me?" Alexei Petrov, the UPA's chief of intelligence, cleared his throat, his eyes downcast. "Director, we've been monitoring the Xylorian communications channels since the battle. It appears they are not simply preparing for another assault. They are actively working to undermine our resolve and turn our own people against us." Ivanova's brow furrowed, a chill running down her spine. "Explain, Alexei." The intelligence chief took a deep breath before continuing. "They've launched a sophisticated propaganda campaign, targeting our civilian population with disinformation and fear-mongering. They're painting us as the aggressors, claiming that we're the ones threatening the stability of the galaxy. And worse, they're offering generous terms of surrender to those who are willing to cooperate with the Xylorian Dominion." The room erupted in a flurry of concerned murmurs, the gravity of the situation sinking in. Ivanova's expression hardened, her mind racing to devise a counter-strategy. "We cannot allow this to continue," she said, her voice firm and resolute. "Alexei, I want you to coordinate with our intelligence and security forces to root out and neutralize this Xylorian propaganda machine. We cannot afford to have our own people turning against us, not when the fate of our civilization hangs in the balance." Petrov nodded, his expression grim. "Understood, Director. We'll do whatever it takes to protect the morale and unity of our people." As the meeting adjourned, Ivanova couldn't shake the feeling that the Xylorians were playing a far more cunning game than they had anticipated. The battle for humanity's survival had entered a new and dangerous phase, one that would test the very foundations of their society. But Ivanova was determined to meet this challenge head-on, her resolve hardened by the knowledge that failure was not an option. The people of the UPA had come too far, fought too hard, to surrender now, and with the might of their technological prowess and the indomitable spirit of their people behind them, she knew that they would prevail, no matter the cost. The Xylorians' relentless propaganda campaign had taken a heavy toll on the morale of the UPA's civilian population. Doubt and fear had crept into the hearts and minds of the people, sowing the seeds of division and uncertainty in the face of the looming alien threat. Director Alexandra Ivanova watched the reports with a growing sense of frustration and concern. She had known that the Xylorians would not simply accept their defeat, but the sheer audacity and cunning of their psychological warfare tactics had caught the UPA leadership off guard. "They're playing a dangerous game, Alexei," Ivanova said, her gaze fixed on the intelligence chief. "We can't allow them to turn our own people against us, not when we're on the verge of the final confrontation." Petrov nodded, his expression grave. "I understand, Director. Our counterintelligence teams have been working around the clock to disrupt the Xylorians' propaganda networks, but they're proving to be elusive and adaptable. Ivanova's jaw tightened, her eyes narrowing. Then we need to take the fight directly to them. Mobilize our military forces, Alexei. It's time we showed the Xelorian Dominion the true might of humanity. Across the UPA's colonies and outposts, the call to arms echoed, rallying the people to the defense of their civilization. General Aisha Khalil, the commander of the Interstellar Defense Command, oversaw the deployment of the human fleet, her seasoned tacticians and strategists fine-tuning the battle plans with meticulous precision. "This is it, ladies and gentlemen," Khalil addressed her officers, her voice carrying a weight of conviction that belied her petite frame. "The fate of our people, our very way of life, rests on the outcome of this battle. We will not falter, we will not surrender. We will fight, and we will win." The human vessels, their sleek, angular designs a testament to the ingenuity of their creators, surged forward, their powerful warp drives propelling them towards the edge of the UPA's territory, where the Xelorian fleet awaited. And leading the charge was the flagship of the human armada, its experimental energy shields and advanced weaponry a formidable testament to the determination and resourcefulness of the UPA's scientific community. At the helm of this vessel was Captain Elijah Kincaid, a seasoned veteran of the UPA's interstellar conflicts. His gaze was fixed on the approaching Xelorian ships, his mind racing with the tactical considerations of the impending battle. "All hands, prepare for engagement," Kincaid ordered, his voice calm and steady. "Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for the future of our entire civilization. Let's show these Xelorians what we're made of." The human and Xelorian fleets collided in a blinding display of raw power, their weapon systems unleashing a torrent of energy that illuminated the vast expanse of space. Explosions rocked the hulls of both sides' vessels as the two civilizations poured the full might of their technological arsenals into the confrontation. Kincaid's ship, its advanced shield systems, and powerful energy cannons carved a path through the Xelorian formations, its crew working in seamless coordination to overwhelm the enemy's defenses. But for every Xelorian vessel they destroyed, two more seemed to take its place, the alien fleet's sheer size and firepower a testament to the Dominion's unwavering resolve. On Selene, Ivanova and her team watched the unfolding battle with a mix of hope and trepidation, their fingers poised over the control panels, ready to lend their support at a moment's notice. "They're holding their own, Alexei," Ivanova said, her gaze fixed on the view screens. "But we need to tip the scales in our favor, and soon." Petrov nodded, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Understood, Director. I've already dispatched a squadron of our newest warp-capable fighters to reinforce Kincaid's position. With any luck, they'll be able to break through the Xelorian lines and give us the opening we need." The battle raged on, the two mighty fleets trading blows in a desperate struggle for supremacy. Kincaid's ship, its shields faltering under the relentless Xelorian assault, pushed forward, its weapon systems unleashing a withering barrage that carved deep into the enemy's formations. And then, a flash of light. The arrival of the UPA's reinforcements, their sleek, nimble fighters darting in and out of the chaos, targeting the Xelorians' vulnerable systems with surgical precision. "Now, Kincaid." Ivanova's voice echoed through the communication channels. "Break through their lines and strike at their command ship." Kincaid needed no further prompting. With a grim determination, he ordered his helmsman to push the ship's engines to their limits, the powerful warp drive propelling them towards the Xelorians' flagship. The battle reached a fever pitch, the very fabric of space trembling under the weight of the two civilizations' struggle. And then, with a thunderous explosion, the Xelorian command ship was annihilated, its destruction sowing chaos and confusion through the alien fleet. Ivanova watched the scene unfold, her heart pounding in her chest. "They did it," she breathed, a wave of relief washing over her. "Humanity has won the day." As the Xelorian vessels began their retreat, the human fleet regrouped, their crews cheering with a mix of triumph and exhaustion. Kincaid stood on the bridge of his ship, his gaze sweeping across the devastated battlefield, a bittersweet smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "It's not over yet," he said, his voice tinged with a hint of caution. "But we've taken the first step towards securing our rightful place among the stars." Ivanova, listening to his words, knew that he was right. The battle for humanity's survival had been won, but the war with the Xilorian Dominion was far from over. The road ahead would be long and arduous, but with the courage and determination of her people behind her, she knew that they would prevail. The resounding victory of the human forces against the Xilorian Dominion sent shockwaves through the interstellar community, sparking a profound shift in the balance of power that had long favored the ancient alien civilization. Director Alexandra Ivanova, her once weary features now alight with a renewed sense of purpose, stood at the forefront of the UPA's diplomatic efforts, determined to capitalize on this historic triumph and secure humanity's rightful place among the stars. "Our people have proven their mettle, their resilience in the face of insurmountable odds," Ivanova declared before a gathering of UPA ambassadors and foreign dignitaries. "The Xilorian Dominion has been forced to recognize our capabilities, our ingenuity, and our unwavering spirit. Now we must seize this opportunity to forge a new era of cooperation and mutual understanding between our civilizations." The response from the gathered representatives was a mix of cautious optimism and guarded skepticism. The Xilorians' defeat had left a profound impact on the galactic community, and many were uncertain as to the true intentions of the once dominant alien empire. "Director Ivanova, your words are inspiring, but you must understand the gravity of the situation," one of the ambassadors, a tall, elegant being from the Cygnus Confederation, intoned. "The Xilorian Dominion has ruled the stars for millennia. Their sudden vulnerability has shaken the very foundations of our interstellar order. How can we be certain that they will not seek to exact their revenge, even as you extend a hand of friendship?" Ivanova's expression remained calm and resolute, her gaze sweeping across the room. "I understand your concerns, Ambassador, and I do not fault you for them. The Xilorians have long cast a shadow over the galaxy, their dominance enforced through fear and the threat of overwhelming force. But now, they have seen the true power of human ingenuity and determination. They know that we are no longer to be trifled with, and that any attempt to subjugate us will be met with the full force of our resolve." The ambassador's brow furrowed, but Ivanova pressed on, her voice carrying a weight of conviction that commanded the attention of all present. "It is time for a new era, one of cooperation and mutual understanding. We have proven ourselves as worthy partners, and we seek to build lasting alliances that will benefit all of our civilizations. The Xilorians, too, have much to gain from such an arrangement. For in working together, we can unlock the full potential of the galaxy and usher in a new age of prosperity and discovery." Slowly, the expressions of the gathered representatives softened, their initial skepticism giving way to a glimmer of hope. Ivanova's words had struck a chord, resonating with the deeper desires of a galaxy weary of centuries-long conflicts and power struggles. As the diplomatic negotiations progressed, the UPA's scientists and engineers continued to push the boundaries of human technology, driven by a renewed sense of purpose and the urgency to solidify their position among the stars. Under the guidance of Dr. Maylan, the team responsible for the revolutionary warp drive that had turned the tide of the battle against the Xilorians, new breakthroughs emerged, from advanced energy shielding systems to the powerful long-range weapons capable of striking with surgical precision. "We've only begun to scratch the surface of what's possible," Mai said, her eyes alight with excitement as she presented her team's latest innovations to Ivanova and General Khalil. "With the resources and support of the UPA, I'm confident we can develop technologies that will cement humanity's place as a dominant force in the interstellar community." Ivanova nodded, a small smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "I have no doubt, Doctor. Your work and the dedication of your team have already proven invaluable to the defense of our civilization. Now, it is time to take that same spirit of innovation and apply it to the challenges of the future. As the months passed, the transformed relationship between the UPA and the Exilorian Dominion began to bear fruit. Trade agreements were forged, cultural exchanges were established, and joint scientific expeditions ventured forth to explore the mysteries of the cosmos. The once wary galactic community watched with a mix of awe and cautious optimism, their perceptions of humanity shifting from that of an upstart civilization to a respected and valuable partner. And for the people of the UPA, the changes were no less profound. A renewed sense of pride and purpose permeated the colonies and outposts as the once disparate human settlements came together in a shared vision of a brighter future among the stars. "We've come so far, General," Ivanova said, as she stood alongside Khalil on the balcony of the Selene Orbital Research Station, gazing out at the vast, glittering expanse of the galaxy. Who would have thought that in the span of a few short years, humanity would not only survive the threat of the Exilorian Dominion, but emerge as a true power in the interstellar community? Khalil chuckled, a hint of wistfulness in her voice. "It's almost hard to believe, Director, but I can't help but feel a sense of excitement for what the future holds. We've proven our worth, our resilience. Now, the sky is the limit." Ivanova nodded, her expression reflecting the same sense of optimism. "Indeed, General, this is just the beginning. The next chapter of humanity's story is about to unfold, and I, for one, can't wait to see what we accomplish next." With that, the two leaders turned and headed back inside, their steps filled with a renewed sense of purpose and determination. The final battle may have been won, but the journey towards a new era of peace, prosperity, and endless possibilities had only just begun.